This Richmond Advisory Plan meeting of June 25th, 2025 is now called to order. Would you please call the roll?
Michael Devine,
Here.
Dakota Collins,
Here.
Joe Price,
Here.
Bruce Whistle,
Here.
Gary Turner,
Here.
Rob Tidrow,
Here.
Brenda Reich,
Here.
Ken Paust.
Here. We have 8 present, and we're able to conduct business tonight. We have a quorum. Members should have received the minutes to the March 26, 2025 meeting in their packets. Do we have any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the March meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Proof of publication.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ad was published in Western Wayne News. It advertises the time, date, and location of tonight's public hearing for DP 1-2025, and I would ask that the commission accept the proof of publication.
I'll make a motion to approve it. Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the proof of publication. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Tonight, we have 3 pieces of new business. First is DP 1-2025. It's the petition of Powers Property Investments, LLC owner, Gordon Moore agent, requesting development plan approval to construct 3 new apartment buildings in the intense multiple-family residential M2 district at 1100 North Drive, Richmond, Indiana. Parcel ID 89-16-28-110-119.000-030. Legal descriptions, point northwest section 28-14-1. Good morning.
Good evening. Gordon Moore with Beals Moore and Associates. You'll see a lot of me this evening, so. I'm sure you all remember this, the ones who were on the board, the commission last year. I'm sure all of you remember this site and how we got here. And after many, many months, this property has finally been transferred over to Powers Properties Investment LLC. With me tonight is Mr. Jake Powers, owner of the property investments. And what I can't answer, I'm sure Jake is going to be able to. What we're asking for is approval of a site plan that contains 3 new buildings. These buildings will be almost identical to the 4 new buildings that was constructed on the east side of the site immediately north of this tract. Mr. Paus brought up a good question earlier. He said, how do we get in and out of this property? And if you are familiar with the site, there is a swimming pool right north of the property line serving the existing buildings, and that swimming pool will be removed. That is step number 1. And I think Jake is trying to schedule that probably starting about the 2nd or 3rd week in July. So that swimming pool will be removed, will be replaced by a parking lot, and that area will be the only ingress and egress into this property construction process. If you remember right, some of the residents of Berry Fields were very concerned that we would be entering into their subdivision during the construction, and that's just not going to be the case. All heavy equipment, all deliveries, everything will be made off of Chester Boulevard, coming into the facility, and then down through the new drive and parking lot into where the construction will take place.
Gordon, quick question is there enough room there where that pool is for a ladder truck to be able to turn to get into there?
We have submitted all these plans, yes, and it does meet all turning radiuses requirements. Absolutely. Good question. Erosion control will be placed all around the facility during the construction process, which will consist of, number 1, silt fence, which will prohibit any mud or debris going off of this property onto adjacent properties. And if you're familiar with the erosion control site requirements, they are inspected, I believe, the Soil and Water Conservation Service does that, to assure that they are in compliance. So they will be placed immediately when construction commences.
I'm sorry, Gordon, can you say again where that is?
It'll be placed all along all property lines that are
Oh.
adjacent to definitely the residential areas on the east, south, and the west property line.
Great, thank you.
Okay, that'll be a requirement of the erosion control plan. There's going to be new, huge pipes, very large, installed under the parking lot for stormwater detention. The site is designed to control all surface water by grading and placement of catch basins on the east and the south side of the track to assure that all the water goes into the detention area, which will be, again, under the parking lot. All downspouts on the 3 new buildings will be routed to the new storm sewers around the perimeter drains and then discharged into these huge detention pipes, again, for detention purposes. Then it'll be released at a controlled rate into the existing storm sewer, and I believe that runs in the south, down a 10-foot wide strip, and I'll address those strips here in just a second. Back to those. So if you remember, there was 2 access points in the original Berryfield subdivision, one to the east and one to the south, 10-foot wide, and it was for the residents to access the park area. When we did the perimeter survey and created a new description, which is they used to transfer the property, those 2 strips were not included. So they are not the property of Powers. They are still in the name of the city of Richmond. We discussed in the past that the thing to do probably would be vacate those 2 strips and then transfer them to the adjacent property owners. There'll have to be easements on those strips because there is utilities lying within those strips. The one at the north, running east and west, I believe there's a sanitary sewer, and the one on the south is a storm sewer. So they will not be the property of Powers. They will be blocked off. They will not permit residents in the apartment complex itself to enter into the subdivision and vice versa. The people from the Berryfield will not be allowed to enter into the apartment complex. And Mr. Powers has had trouble in the past with some vandalism during the previous construction, and he hopes to control that this time by placement of security cameras around the site. So all utility companies, including the Richmond Sanitary District, have reviewed and approved the construction plans. And again, we hope to start construction sometime in the month of July, hopefully the 2nd or 3rd week. And Mr. Powers already has tenants lined up waiting to move into these facilities. It's amazing the need that is here, and he is trying to serve that need, and he has a long, long waiting list. And what he's done to that existing property and cleaning it up and changing the environment and the atmosphere of that existing facility is remarkable, and he's going to continue to do that here. So that's a very quick overlook, but I will be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Moore?
I just have one, considering that Dakota and I are on the park board. Has the transaction for Berryfield Park taken place? That is, has the money transferred?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
And there is a recorded document transferring the property from the city over to Mr. Powers. So that just happened within the last 2 weeks. So it took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
But we are there now, and it has been transferred, and again, did not include those 2 strips.
I have a question to follow up on that.
Mr.
What was the
Turner?
final cost then, or how much was transferred into the park department? Because the original I saw was $1 to the
No.
EDC, but I want to know what,
That's above my pay grade.
okay.
I think it was just under 20,000. Am I not right? No?
23,
24,000?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
They don't share that with the surveyors.
But I just thought it'd be public knowledge, so I'm sure it is with
Other questions?
city.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
DP1 2025 is on public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor or in opposition? Seeing none, we will close public hearing and go straight to the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. President. DP 1-2025 is the petition of Powers Properties Investments LLC, owner Gordon Moore is the agent, located at 1100 North Drive in Richmond, requesting development plan approval to allow the permanent construction of new structures and alteration of the land by adding 3 buildings and 72 multifamily units in the intense multifamily residential district. Current use is vacant, former city park. Zoning is intense multifamily residential, and the current lot size is 1.66 acres. Once it's combined with the adjacent Chester Heights property, it will be 10.76 acres. Adjacent zoning to the north is intense multifamily residential. To the south and east is high-density single-family residential, and to the west is high-density single-family residential and urban residential. Adjacent land use to the north is commercial, the Chester Heights Apartments, and to the south, east, and west is single-family residential. Chester Heights Apartments currently has 13 three-story buildings totaling 202 dwelling units and 336 parking spaces. The proposed development plan will expand the Chester Heights Apartments by adding 3 new three-story buildings that house 24 units apiece, totaling 72 new dwelling units. If approved, Chester Heights Apartments would have a total of 16 buildings, 274 dwelling units, and 438 parking spaces. I'll skip over the background. On June 12th, 2025, 41 adjacent property owners were notified about the development plan and public hearing by mail. I believe we had 1 response.
Actually, we got a second one, so. The first one is Annette Robinson and Archie Goins at 1808 East Drive, opposed. And one from Keith Woods at 1805 East Drive, opposed.
Monica? On June 12th, 2025, the public hearing was advertised in Western Wayne News. Planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety. No public health and safety objections were raised. Staff recommends approving the development plan to allow the permanent construction of 3 buildings and 72 multifamily units in the intense multifamily residential district based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, the development plan is consistent with the City of Richmond's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan's future land use map identifies the subject property and the surrounding neighborhoods as part of its traditional neighborhood place type moving forward. The plan identifies traditional neighborhoods as second-ring residential areas located just beyond Richmond's urban core, with access to schools, religious institutions, and public parks. While the plan notes traditional neighborhoods will consist primarily of single-family detached units, quote, apartment buildings and other multifamily units that are integrated into the larger cohesive development where they contribute to the transition from residential to higher density use is also identified as an appropriate use. Additionally, the plan's existing conditions report and public engagement process identified 6 key challenges facing the city, with 2 of the identified challenges related to housing. And that was quality of housing stock and lack of housing diversity. In multiple places, the plan promotes a greater variety of housing types, including apartments and condominiums, as a necessity to both address the 6 identified challenges and to attract and retain young professionals. Number 2, the development plan does satisfy the development requirements of Article 2 zoning districts. The proposed use satisfies the UDO's development requirements for the M2 zoning district. The city's 2023 updates to the UDO expanded the number of units permitted in a single building in the M2 district to 24, which is the precise number being proposed by this petition. Number 3, the development plan does satisfy the standards of the Article 5 development standards. Chester Heights Apartments have been granted several variances by Richmond's Board of Zoning Appeals to allow relief from minimum dwelling unit size, maximum primary structures, and minimum required parking standards. The approval of these variances included written commitments that cap each variance at their respective quantities, and the present development plan satisfies these commitments. Number 4, the development plan does satisfy all other applicable provisions of the Unified Development Ordinance. All other components of the proposed expansion comply with the Richmond zoning code. And number 5, the development plan does satisfy the construction requirements of the city's of Richmond's construction standards. The project must comply with all City of Richmond zoning, building, fire, and sanitary standards. There is one written commitment, which is just, if approved, the petitioner must apply for an administrative subdivision from the Department of Infrastructure and Development to merge the subject property with the existing Chester Heights property prior to beginning construction of the development. I'd be happy to address any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Thank you, Mr. Purvis. Okay, discussion. Hearing none, the chair would accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve DP 1 2025.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve DP 1 2025. Would you please call the roll?
Michael Devine,
Aye.
Dakota Collins,
Aye.
Joe Price,
Aye.
Bruce Whistle,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow,
Aye.
Brenda Reich,
Aye.
Ken Paust.
Aye.
Have 8 in favor, none opposed, so this does pass. Thank you. Next on the agenda is SP 1 2025. It's the petition of Trademark Construction LLC owner, Gordon Moore agent, requesting secondary plat approval of Phase 2 of the 12th edition of the Hidden Valley subdivision at 0 Clear Creek Lane, Richmond, Indiana, parcel ID 89-18-007-002.010-030. Subdivision at 0 Clear Creek, legal description, point northwest, 7-13-1, 8.25 acres. Mr. Moore.
We started this in like 2004. I don't know how many of you knew Mr. Ed Nicholson, but he was quite a character.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was. And he started this at 80 years old. And his goal was to have this developed and everything done by the time he was 90. And unfortunately, I think he reached 90, didn't he?
I think so.
I think I went to his 90th birthday party. But he didn't get to see this, to completion. And it broke our hearts that he didn't. And I'm just so happy that Trademark has picked this up and is moving forward with it. And finally, we'll get these last 20 lots developed, because this is one of the better subdivisions in our community. If you've been back in there, you know it's beautiful. It's surrounded by conservative districts all the way around. Earlham Cemetery on the east side. There's not going to be any more development here. It's done. And these people that are living on the west side and the east side can walk out in their backyards and terrain with a river, and it's really great. I just can't tell you how happy I am that Trademark's picked this up. Somewhere Ed's smiling. I know he is. So we're requesting approval for the 20 new lots and the completion of either Clear Creek West or Clear Creek Lane. And I think Lane goes on extended. And I'm going to have to clean up my plat and then show that. Most of the roadway and utilities were constructed and completed in the summer of 2006. There's a small amount of new storm sewer and installation of 2 to 4 new catch basins that's going to be required to assure that the drainage goes to what is labeled as Lot 194 on the south end, because there's a detention basin that was designed and constructed there, not only to handle Phase 1, but also Phase 2 of this subdivision. It is in place. We have looked at it, and somebody's planted a few trees there, so we're going to have those trees removed from the middle of the detention basin to assure that there's positive drainage. We have submitted and obtained approvals from all utility companies, including the Richmond Sanitary District, the Indiana American Water Company. And really quickly, that's about it. We're going to have, I think, continuation, the quality of homes at Trademark, and they've done a majority of these homes in this area. They finished the lots to the north end of this, and the quality and the $300,000 to $350,000, $400,000 homes that'll be here. Again, I just think it's a wonderful subdivision, and I can't tell you how happy I am to see it complete. But I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Moore?
Just one,
Mr.
Mr. President. I'm having trouble determining which lot numbers we're talking about.
We're going to start at lot 184 up on the north end, go down to 191. Okay, then we skip over the street, and the reason being, because if you've been down in the south end of that, there's a very large mansion, almost, that bought not only lot 175, lot 174, but also 2 adjacent lots, and that one house and improvements are sitting on 4 separate lots. So we stop there at 191, we kick over to 195, and we go
Okay.
all the way back up to 206.
Up there. Okay, thank you.
Help?
Yeah.
Okay. In the middle of that, you can see there's a width of about 40 feet, I believe, and that was left for access to the Richmond Sanitary District and to the Conservancy District to access their property, but in the valley below us is, I believe it's called the Round Barn Road Interceptor. It's a sewer that serves the entire west side out to Round Barn Road and goes down to the treatment plant. So that's why that little strip is left there.
And my question would be, will that stone that's in there remain? The sanitation department put stone, they stoned a driveway on that easement, I think last summer, for maintenance on that line, but I'm just wondering, will that remain?
As far as we're concerned, it'll remain, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to see,
I'd like to see it natural. I walked that
I'll
area.
discuss that with
Your backyard.
a walking path all the way around this subdivision.
I used to run in this. Ed used to mow a track in there. I ran it every day, just about.
Ed took one planning director and myself all around this, and when he was 80, and we walked.
Yeah.
And that planning director was bent over holding his knees, trying to keep up with it.
One more question. 194 will never be built on, I believe.
Oh, that's the detention basin, that's
Right.
correct.
And the adjoining guys, I think, bought all the lots around that.
They did. The owner of 173, I believe, and
Yeah.
172, now he owns 194. That
Okay.
was sold to him as meets and bounds description. And even though it shows as a label of 194, it cannot, it'll have to be transferred, never can be transferred because it's a detention basin.
Yeah, right. Yep. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
This does not go to public hearing since it's a secondary plat approval, so we go straight to the planning staff for their report.
Thank you, Mr. President. SP1 is the petition of Trademark Construction LLC. Owner Gordon Moore is the agent, located at 0 Clear Creek Lane in Richmond, requesting secondary replat for the second phase of the 12th edition of the Hidden Valley subdivision. Current use is vacant, partially platted subdivision. Zoning is high-density, single-family residential, and the section is approximately 8¼ acres. Adjacent zoning to the north and south is high-density, single-family residential. To the east is agricultural, and to the west is high-density, single-family residential. Adjacent land use to the north is single-family residential. To the south is vacant, Whitewater Valley Land Trust. To the east is institutional, Earlham Cemetery property, and to the west is single-family residential. Legal notice and public hearing are not required for secondary replat approval. Planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety. No public health and safety objections were raised. For the construction standards review on roadway construction, plan for the new roadway and utility construction have been submitted to the city along with construction cost estimates. Beth Fields and TL Bazell have reviewed and approved the materials and paving costs. On June 20th, 2025, the developer provided the city with a signed letter agreeing to obtain a performance bond covering the street construction in the amount of 110% of the approved cost estimate upon receiving secondary plat approval. Stormwater infrastructure. The Richmond Sanitary District has received and approved grading, erosion, drainage, and stormwater management plans for the project's stormwater permit. Construction costs for the stormwater infrastructure were provided on June 18th, and RSD's district engineer, Elijah Welch, approved the estimated costs. As noted above, the developer has agreed to obtain a performance bond to cover stormwater infrastructure construction costs in the amount of 110% of the approved estimate upon receiving secondary plat approval. Water main extension. Indiana American Water has verified that a water main extension may be installed at the applicant's expense to provide water service to this addition in the Hidden Valley subdivision. Indiana American Water's engineering department must approve plans for the water main extension, and once the extension has been completed in accordance with their specifications, Indiana American Water will take ownership of the main. On planning and zoning review for the record plat requirements, the proposed record plat includes the registered land surveyor certificate, deed of dedication certificate, covenant or deed restriction binder, and plan commission certificate as required by the city's UDO. Surety standard requirements. Again, the petitioner's bonding agent has stated that this secondary plat request must be approved by the Plan Commission prior to issuing a bond for the cost of construction. The city has approved the cost estimates for the infrastructure work, and the petitioner has provided planning staff with a signed letter stating that the bond will be provided upon Plan Commission approval. The Department of Infrastructure and Development will not approve improvement location permits, which are zoning permits, applications to build on the individual lots until the bond has been provided or infrastructure has been completed and approved by the city. Because the plat duplicates the lot layout originally approved by the Plan Commission as a primary plat in 2005, and because the subdivision's infrastructure will either be completed and approved or guaranteed by a performance bond prior to issuing permits to construct individual houses on the lots, planning staff recommends approving the secondary plat application for Phase 2 of the 12th edition of the Hidden Valley subdivision. And the written commitment is just roadway, water, and stormwater infrastructure must be completed or guaranteed by a performance bond before the Department of Infrastructure and Development will issue any permits for construction on these platted lots. I'd be happy to address any questions you have for me.
Questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Purvis. We're open for discussion. I will bring up at this point, since it is a secondary approval, we're not allowed to put any new restrictions on. In primary approval, we gave them the direction to go, and there's not been any alteration from those restrictions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So now we're open for discussion. If none, the chair will accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve SP 1-2025.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve SP 1 2025. Would you please call the roll?
Michael Devine,
Aye.
Dakota Collins,
Aye.
Joe Price,
Aye.
Bruce Whistle,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow,
Aye.
Brenda Reich,
Aye.
Ken Paust.
Aye.
Vote is 8 in favor and none against. So congratulations. Go ahead. And the third item is SP 2 2025. It's the petition of Heritage Land Company, LLC owner, Gordon Moore agent, requesting primary plat approval to create 4 new tracks from an existing 186.461 parent track in the medium-density, single-family residential R2 district at 90 Wayne Road, Richmond, Indiana, parcel ID 89-16-000.107.000-028.
So I'm sure that most of you are familiar with what this property was decades and decades. I never knew it anything but the Delucio property, which extended out to US 27. And Heritage is going to retain about 75 acres to the east of this. But they've determined that this land is not something that they want to continue to own, so they want to split it up as shown and try to market the property and sell off these tracks. Track 1 will have 101.925, track 2 has 55.983, track 3 is 21.981, and the small track down off of Wayne Road is 6.572. So we do have road frontage both on Union Pike and on Wayne Road. Our drawing shows approximately where Wayne Road is terminated at this point, although the right-of-way of the road still shows it goes all the way over to the east line of this property, which is the section line. But it never was improved as far as gravel and asphalt beyond where we show the termination point. It is in the 2-mile fringe. There are no utilities available in this area. I'm kind of curious, always am, how it got an R2 zoning. I'm sure that somebody, the 100-acre tract and 55-acre tract will probably continue to use it as agricultural purposes. Yeah. So, questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is there any proposed development there now?
that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Certainly not by Heritage. Propose to go any further with this property than what is shown here. So if somebody else purchases it, I think they would have that opportunity, although I wouldn't see it happening because of the lack of utilities.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
And the little notch up there in the middle, is there a house?
Yes, there is.
So there's utilities there?
No, there is not. That's on well and septic system.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And I believe the number 20, nope, that is not a Delucio either. All that property in that area at one time was owned by one of the brothers or another one, and they've transferred the majority of their properties. So same here on the east side of US 27 as well.
Corn's growing pretty good out there already. So I was out there this morning, and I had never been there before, so I didn't know what to expect. And I got to that Wayne Road termination, and they have a nice turnaround spot on there, which is nice to have. Is this just a transaction of ownership? Is that what we're talking about here?
What they're going to do after this approval of dividing it in this manner, then they're going to market these lots to sell them. Yes.
Okay.
That's their goal. They've done the same thing out on the east side of town, at the state line where they purchased all the Tim Cummings' old property. They've been selling that off, and now they're looking to sell off the properties on the Ohio side as well. So they determined where there was gravel deposits and so forth, and these areas apparently do not meet that need, and they're going to get rid of them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Planning report, please.
Mr. President, SP 2 is the petition of Heritage Land Company LLC owner, Gordon Moore is the agent, located at 90 Wayne Road in Richmond, requesting minor subdivision approval to split off 4 tracts from 2 existing tracts that are a combined 186.461 acres in the medium-density single-family residential district. Current use is agricultural and the zoning is R2. The parent tract is 186.461 acres. Adjacent zoning to the north is medium-intensity single-family residential, to the south is medium-intensity single-family residential, high-intensity industrial and outdoor commercial. To the east is agricultural, and to the west is medium-intensity single-family residential and high-intensity industrial. Adjacent land use to the north is agricultural, cash grain, general farm. To the south is agricultural vacant, agricultural, cash grain, and general farm, and agricultural, other agricultural use, single-family residential, and industrial small shop. To the east is agricultural vacant, commercial, auto sales and service, and industrial small shops. And to the west is agricultural vacant and agricultural cash grain and general farm. Media notice was given at least 48 hours in advance to local media outlets on Wednesday, June 18th. Legal notice and public comment are not required for minor subdivisions. Staff recommends approving the primary plat application for 90 Wayne Road based on the following findings. Number 1, the subdivision of land is consistent with the Richmond Rising Community Action Plan. The comprehensive plan's future land use map identifies the area north of I-70 between US 35 and US 27 as agricultural/rural residential moving forward, aiming to maintain the agricultural and low-density residential characteristics of the city's 2-mile fringe. The proposed split does not interfere with these goals, as the 4 tracts, ranging from roughly 6.5 to 102 acres, can continue to accommodate agricultural and low-density residential uses and character. Number 2 and 3 are not applicable. Number 4, the subdivision of land does satisfy all other applicable provisions of the UDO. All 4 of the proposed tracts satisfy the minimum requirements for their R2 zoning designation, including minimum lot area and width. While the proposed parcels will still be quite large, the reduction of the parent parcel into 4 smaller tracts brings the land closer to typical proportions of R2 lots. Further, all 4 lots have street frontage and access that can conceivably accommodate future development or further subdivision that adheres to the UDO standards for R2 properties. Number 5 is not applicable. There are no written commitments. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Any questions for the planning staff? Thank you, Mr. Purvis. We're open for discussion. Hearing none, the chair will accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve SP 2-2025.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve SP 2, 2025. Please call the roll.
Michael Devine,
Aye.
Dakota Collins,
Aye.
Joe Price,
Aye.
Bruce Whissel,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow,
Aye.
Brenda Reich,
Aye.
and Paust.
Aye.
8 in favor, none opposed, so it does carry. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Under miscellaneous business, you want to have a discussion about the Northwest Fifth Street possibly rezoning?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a presentation here that seems to have frozen, but I can just talk about it. This is something that I've been thinking about for a few months. The stretch of Northwest Fifth Street, beginning around Richmond Avenue to the south, and then around up to the Williamsburg Pike split to the north, is all zoned outdoor commercial. And so the UDO identifies the intent of outdoor commercial zoning as, quote, heavy intensity commercial, primarily for businesses with a significant portion of their stock and trade being displayed outdoors. So because of this, your typical outdoor commercial lot is going to be larger than your kind of traditional general commercial lot. For instance, the minimum lot size for outdoor commercial is 5 times larger than in the general commercial district. The setbacks for structures are going to be different. And then just as its name suggests, it's a zoning district that is intended for outdoor display of inventory. It has its own kind of separate set of standards in the UDO. Up to 70% of the lot can be covered by outdoor display of inventory. And then there are setback exceptions, so you can have your inventory up to 5 feet from the property line or the sidewalk. And so think of car dealerships or some of the storage shed businesses that exist out there. So that's one of the reasons that I would propose that we consider looking into a full rezone of this entire corridor. In the sort of medium to long-term plans, there are some goals to, enhance this area, to maybe eventually bury the utility lines out there, enhance the landscaping a little bit, and this would be, zoning sort of playing its role in guiding future development out there. And then just on top of that, and you can only see a portion of the presentation here, but roughly 90% of the existing lots out there are already non-conforming to the outdoor commercial zoning district. Either they're too small or they have structures that don't adhere to the setback requirements. And a lot of these are actually small residential lots. And there's a manufactured home park out there as well. It's all zoned outdoor commercial. So this evening, I would just ask the commission to entertain the possibility of beginning this process, because it has to be initiated by the Plan Commission. And then if you vote to move forward, which doesn't necessarily mean that you would ultimately vote to approve the rezone, but it gives planning staff an opportunity to begin looking at this on a parcel-to-parcel basis. We can work with law on getting an ordinance together and kind of go from there. If you have any questions about this, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Good
Not a
question.
question, an observation. In the midst of updating the comprehensive plan, and it follows that they should be looking at that corridor and making some recommendations to us with respect to whether it should be rezoned.
I agree. It's one of the most prominent corridors in the city. It's a lot of people's interest in the city.
But for those who don't know, we've been trying to put the money together to completely overhaul the pavement out there and with sidewalks. And as he said, putting the wiring underground and upgrading the lighting. And that might happen in the next 5 years, I'd say.
I do have one question.
Yes.
What, you talk about rezoning, is there a recommendation as to what that would be?
I think my default, just coming out of the gate, would just be to make the commercial lots general commercial. So your kind of smaller scale commercial, like restaurants, bars, offices, retail, that would all still be permitted. But some of the more intense retail would no longer be permitted. And then, of course, for the small residential lots, those would probably end up as urban residential. the manufactured home park would be manufactured park. So we would look at it on a parcel by parcel basis,
Okay.
but I think for the most part, it would be general commercial.
Gotcha.
Mr. President,
Yes.
how would that affect the current business and property owners? Would there be a grandfathering? How would that affect them?
There would. So any sort of nonconformity, we call that legal nonconforming, and it essentially means it would be grandfathered. So if the use was in place prior to the rezone, that would be able to continue. And then once the use is no longer active, then they would no longer be permitted to do that.
I do want to ensure that we're continuing to support our business owners, including along this corridor, but as an employee of Earlham College, I mean, this corridor is the very first impression that our students and families get when they come to visit the college. Like you mentioned, this is many people's first impression of the community. Any sort of development along this area, I think, would be a boon, not only for the college, but the entire Richmond community. And so I'm very much in favor of this.
You mentioned the manufactured home park. What's the status of that place?
As far as I'm aware, it's still an active park, but You might-
You didn't live here when it was completely full of manufactured homes. It's maybe 15 or 20 at this point, whereas it probably had better than 100 in it at some point in the past.
that's something during the potential rezone process that could be explored. Do we not actually want this to be zoned for manufactured parks?
Hey. I think you got my point.
As long as they have a place to move to, right?
Yes, right.
If there are no other comments,
My brother actually lived back there.
we would, at this stage, you would like some authorization for us to go ahead and investigate this. Is that correct?
Yes, and then we would, start to work on this, reach out to some of the property owners, and then I would imagine it might be 3-4 months down the line that this would come back as a public hearing.
Okay. Do you want a formal vote on that, or?
I think that would probably be best, yeah.
Okay.
Is there a specific motion, a wording for the motion?
Maybe just a motion to initiate the rezone of the Northwest Fifth Street corridor.
Or just say investigate, it'd be probably good enough.
Enthusiastically so moved.
I'll say.
Everybody wants a second.
In 2 seconds, wow. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, please go ahead with that. And the other item we have on the agenda is refresh update on the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, as Gary referenced a second ago, the city is undergoing a refresh of our comprehensive plan this year. We brought in HWC Engineering to kind of guide that process. Some of you might remember that the city did a complete overhaul of the comprehensive plan back in 2018 or 2019. This is kind of an abbreviated version of that. We're revisiting that plan, looking at changes that have taken place in the city since then, demographic changes, development changes, and just kind of reassessing what has worked well, what might be changed, what sorts of new goals and objectives we might have. And so just wanting to make sure that the Plan Commission is in the loop that's going on. We've had a couple steering committee meetings. Myself and Joanne were members of the steering committee, as are a few members of the Plan Commission, including President Whistle. We have another meeting tomorrow. We've had some, I think, good discussion during those meetings. And then in July, there are going to be a couple stakeholder workshops. It's possible that the mayor's office might be reaching out to other members of the commission to participate in those. And then there will also be a public workshop at 5:30 on July 31st, I believe at the Star Jeanette building. And the city will begin publicizing that shortly. That'll be open to the community more broadly. And then from there, they're going to put together a draft, and then they'll come to introduce themselves to the Plan Commission in September, put together a final draft, and then come back to our October Plan Commission meeting for a public hearing, and then a recommendation from the Plan Commission. So again, just making sure that the Plan Commission is in the loop, that this is going on right now. If you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer those.
Okay, hearing none. Today was the filing deadline for next month's meeting. Have we got an agenda?
We do not have any items for next month.
Okay, so May have a summer month off here. Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.